that are applicable. So feel free to comment and question. Ken, let's check the numbers. This is broadcast number 214, and you have been on board for 79. You're closing in on that 100 mark, aren't you?
I am, and I'm expecting a full-blown celebration and a raise as well. So,
Okay. I knew you would. Now you know that company car that I promised you.
yeah,
I'm
I
just
know
waiting for the electronic vehicles to come
yeah,
on.
you promised me an electric vehicle. Yeah, I know. It's going to be
Yeah,
quite a wait,
so
I think.
it'll be a while longer on that. So okay.
I wanted to get it on record anyway.
All right. Well, let's talk about. We've got I think, a very special and unusual broadcast tonight, and I want to bring up our guest lineup and show everyone. I want to get a full view of that. We're still here. You just can't see us, but we're still here. We are going to be talking to three retired FBI agents: Michael Wyatt and his wife Tracy, husband and wife team, FBI retired, and our state director, Dale Tipton, is also retired FBI. And we're going to spend some time tonight talking to those three individuals and learning from them what is going on with the FBI. I won't get into it. I think you're going to find it very, very interesting. And then we're going to top it off with one of our new district captains, Dale Winn. Dale is the new district captain for House District 64. So I think we've got a very, very good lineup for you tonight, and should be interesting, Ken, don't you think?
Oh, I'm looking forward to this one. This one is going to be, I think, jam-packed. Just a gem of a show, I think, coming forward. So
I believe you're right. Well, listen, let's get our first guests up on board here, and we'll introduce them to everyone. Let's bring in our current state director. Dale, you're muted. You need to unmute yourself there, bud. And
All right. Hello, gentlemen.
hello,
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 Dale.
hello. And let's then bring up our two other guests, and I'll unmute them myself. Unmute yourself again there, Michael. There you go. There you go. Michael and Tracy Wyatt, husband and wife team. So this is, like I said, this is a special evening, special broadcast tonight, and let's. Michael and Tracy, you live in Iowa, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So we want to. First of all, I always start out with guests. We always start out by asking you to tell your COS stories, not your life story, but your how, when, where you came to get involved in convention of states. And Dale, I want to start with you, since you've done this before, but give it another shot. Maybe you can change something this time, huh?
Yeah, not a problem. We've talked about, with some of the FBI stuff. I retired in 2011, and so during my service years, I wasn't really interested in politics. We were actually kind of discouraged to stay away from politics, and so after I pursued another job after I retired, I started kind of paying attention to politics a little bit more. And as you watch things transpire as the years passed, you could detect, at least for me, that the country wasn't going in a very positive direction. And I developed a lot of Facebook feeds and news sources that brought information to me, and I'd scan all that stuff to try to keep track of it. Then about November of 2020, whenever that presidential election happened, and I thought I was pretty much, headed in a good direction when I went to bed that night, and woke up the next morning and realized the world had turned upside down. And I looked at my wife and I said, well, I think something's amiss in our country, and maybe voting isn't quite enough anymore. And she says, well, that could very well be. So I kind of started looking at things closer and closer. And one day on a Facebook feed, I saw this ad for this place called Convention of States. And I thought, well, that's interesting. I've never seen that before. And so I was curious, and I went to the website and kind of started doing some examination. And so that was probably December-ish. I think then by January I decided, well, what the heck? I don't know of any other alternative to amending the Constitution to help solve the problems that America's facing. And so I jumped in, put in my application, and have changed seats a few times since I've been here. But that's basically the story.
Okay. I just got a message here from Ken. What's that? We're not logged into Facebook for some reason.
StreamYard needs to reconnect to Facebook, Dale. So we need the email and password. If you want to text it to me, You want to text it to me? I'll get it logged in.
What email and password?
The one that connects our Facebook connection. You must have put it in when you connected StreamYard.
Oh my goodness.
Do it when you can. Keep going.
Let's keep going here. Folks, this is one of those technical issues that comes up and it happens from time to time. Okay. Thank you, Dale. Michael and Tracy.
Yeah.
Your COS stories.
Well, it started kind of for both of us for the same reason. After I retired from the Bureau, I went to work teaching at a community college and criminal justice, which is not surprising. And one of the things that I taught and Tracy taught was criminal and constitutional law for police officers. We didn't teach it for,
attorneys.
We're not attorneys. We didn't go to law school. So both of us started to really look at the Constitution. And I remember finding Article 5 and thinking, I didn't know that, that part of it. And I read it over a couple times, and we talked about it a couple times. And then shortly after that, I saw something on COS, I think it was on Facebook, and they were going to meet, several people were going to meet down at the Capitol to meet with a subcommittee. So I thought, what the heck, I'll go down there. And I did. And I was more involved early on. We have a small business later on. We weren't able to be quite as active as we wanted to be, but we attend events and talk it up whenever we can.
Okay, good. So Dale's our state director. So you and Tracy are what we consider volunteer activists, right?
Yes.
You kind of do what they want you to do when they want you to do it, type thing. So okay, good. All right, then let's start with some basic information. Then you were all in the FBI. What were your service dates? When were you in? Dale, you want to start it off?
Sure. 11/17/86 to 4/1/2011.
2008.
86 to 2011. Okay, Michael, Tracy.
I went in on January 5th of 87 and retired in 2008.
And I went in a year and a week after Michael. We tested and processed together, but I guess they just wanted to save the best to come in last. And so I came in January 2008 and 88, sorry, and retired in 2010.
Okay. All right. So you both been retired. You all been retired for a little while then, haven't you?
Yep.
Yeah. Interestingly enough, Dale, Michael and I would have been in the academy at Quantico at the same time.
Okay.
We probably saw each other in the chow hall or in the gym or someplace.
Breathe the same air.
Yes. Over and over again through the squirrel cages.
So let's talk about training. Is that a Quantico? Are there a number of training bases, or is the training all done in one place?
New agents training is all done at Quantico.
Okay.
And I don't know what the Bureau does now, but throughout our years, the FBI would put on in-services for further education in a variety of different places throughout the country. And then they started to move back to try and have as many in-services as possible at Quantico. And that was all dollar driven.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, Dale, you might be interested to know also that the FBI training center at Quantico sits in the center of a Marine Corps training center. And so it's probably one of the more secure places around for any kind of governmental training, because you have to drive through the Marine base to get to where we were.
And how long did the training last?
Ours lasted 13 weeks. We had, they had just shortened it up. And to do that and make sure that all of the training was accomplished, we wound up having a lot of nights and weekends.
Really?
I think it was 15, 16 weeks for me.
Yeah, you would have been. We were just, I think I might have been the first 13-week class in January of 87. And I think I knew some people in your class that went to Denver, and they always complained that, we had to do 3 weeks less. And I said, you didn't want to do it. You didn't want to work every night and every weekend. That wasn't any fun.
Now, the only thing I have to relate to this is I was in the Army, so I went through basic training. I mean, is this in basic training, of course, for the military, very physical, a lot of physical stuff, but some classroom, but also a lot of field type training. Is that basically what yours was involved, or was there more classroom, or what?
There's a lot of classroom because you're dealing with, again, the Constitution and
How to do the
federal
paperwork.
law, paperwork. But you also spend a lot of time working out. That's a daily thing. And then firearms is almost a daily thing while you're there to qualify you on everything that you have to get a call on. So, yeah, I would say that I was not in the military, but the guys that were say, the difference was nobody called us scumbags or called us names or things like that.
Yeah, right. Okay. So you did have to learn different weapons then, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, absolutely.
How many different weapons?
Dale, what do you think?
Well, for me, it was a 38 special for a handgun, a Remington 870 shotgun, and then a Heckler & Koch MP5 rifle.
Sounds about right.
That was the same. We had the Hoover heater too, that Model 13 3-inch barrel.
Yep.
38. And then we did a FAM on the M16 also in my class.
That's familiarization.
Yeah.
A FAM, huh? Okay.
But we didn't have to qualify with it.
Right.
Okay. Now, did you have to break these weapons down and clean them and reassemble them, that type of thing?
Oh, yeah.
So were you issued these weapons at the end of your training, or do they issue you one particular weapon, or what?
Just the handgun for me.
Yeah.
The others were available at the offices that you were sent to, but the handgun was the one that you carried.
All right.
A friend of ours that went through 2 years after us, maybe, was such a petite little thing that a regular human-sized shotgun, she couldn't function with it. And they gave her a smaller shotgun, and of course no regular sized person could use that because it was way too small for them. So that was actually assigned to her. So on a rare occasion, somebody might get a shotgun assigned to them.
Really? Wow. Huh, that's interesting. That's interesting.
Yeah, I can remember receiving the gun at the gun vault whenever I graduated, and you think it's like the greatest thing in the world. You load up this pistol and you strap it on and you go, man, this is my gun like forever. And then whenever you're out for a few months, you start to realize what a burden it is, because this thing is with you everywhere you go and you have to protect it everywhere you go.
Yep.
It wears out the inside of the lining on your suit coats. And that's why FBI agents are famous for wearing cheap suits, I think. And,
Really?
yeah, it's just not nearly as glamorous as you would think. There's a lot of responsibility involved in carrying a firearm every single day.
If you walk through the office and the guys would take their jackets off, you might see two different colors of lining inside their jackets, because they'd have where the gun was patched with a different lining because there was a hole there.
Oh, wow. Wow. Okay. Well, let's get into the type of work that you did. Dale, you start, is this part of your training, or do you, once the training is over, are you just assigned a particular type of work, or how does that work?
Yeah, I mean, you're kind of trained to be able to address anything in general, but once you're assigned to a squad in a field office, then you get some on-the-job training where you're paired up with people who have some expertise and, kind of mentor you as you're learning your way along. Whenever I went to Chicago for the first office, I was assigned to a squad that dealt with international domestic terrorism. And so that was the only squad that handled that type of work. And so I did that for 6 years. In Chicago
So you got into that basically because of where you got assigned.
Correct.
Is that the same with you, Michael?
That's where they had an opening and needed a body. Yep.
Yeah, we started out, both of us, in applicants. That used to be the thing, doing applicant background investigations. And then in my case, I was a former cop. I was a former undercover for 4 years. I did everything in police work, from parking tickets to homicides. So they put me on counterintelligence and terrorism, which I had no background in whatsoever, and did the same thing, except in an office like Denver, you get a lot of training. There's not as many people. I don't have to compete with a whole bunch of guys like he did in Chicago. So I went back to Quantico for a lot of training and got briefed up pretty fast in my area.
After applicants, I went to the white collar crime squad and worked everything from bank frauds, mail frauds, wire frauds. I worked violent crimes. I worked bank robberies, fugitives. From there, I went to being the crimes against children. I was the only agent in the Denver division, at least at headquarters city, that worked crimes against children, internet, child pornography, traveler cases. Wound up being the program coordinator for a while. Worked public corruption. I was what was called a general criminal agent, or a gen crim agent. So I got a lot of experience working a lot of different things.
I don't know about you. It's just kind of unusual to sit here and listen to you talk about these things that you did. The criminal this, criminal that, and all the. It just seems so. So, do you understand what I'm saying, Ken?
Yeah, they never ran out of work, Dale. There was always something to do.
Yeah, I mean, unlike in Chicago, whenever I hadn't been on that task force very long, and my supervisor walks out one day and he said, "I'm looking for country experts on Libya and Iran." And so everybody was just kind of looking around at each other. And so he points his finger at me and he said, "You will be my country expert for Libya and Iran." And so I said, "Okay, fine." So I started reading all of the teletypes that had to do with Libya and Iran. And then they started sending me back to Quantico for in-services to learn about what was happening in those two regions. And so I rapidly, any case that came in dealing with those two countries, I would get.
Wow.
Yeah, I was a Cuba, North Korea guy most of the time.
Nice.
Michael, you said something. You said the word undercover. Was
Yeah.
that as a policeman or as FBI?
Well, I was undercover as a cop. I was your typical drug buying street crud guy. I mean,
Really?
I looked terrible. I many times smelled terrible.
Never smelled bad.
Moved in, worked biker gangs.
Oh my gosh, really? Where were you located at that time?
Oh, Davenport, Iowa. And so the gangs I dealt with were the Sons of Silence, the Roulette Wheels. I've lost the name of the other one, but people like that. They kind of all patched over later on to the Sons of Silence kind of run things now.
My goodness. In Davenport, Iowa, they had these things.
Yeah, that's interesting because after I finished with terrorism in Chicago, I changed over to a major street gang squad where we did Latin Kings, Gangster Disciples, Vice Lords, all those kind of things. But very similar to what you would have worked. They all kind of operated the same way.
Yeah.
All made money off drugs and trafficked in weapons, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay, well, we could go on and on with this. I think it's so interesting. Let's get into what's happening with the FBI today. What you all think. When we did the rehearsal, it was just so interesting to hear you all talking about the way the FBI was when you were in versus how it is now. I guess. Can we kind of start there? Which one? One of you were talking about being in a meeting with about 12 or 13 other men, and you were the only. I think it was you, Michael. You were the only one that wasn't an Eagle Scout.
Actually, calling it a meeting is it was a squad BS session at getting close to 5 o'clock going home time. It was one of those rare nights when we were going to get to go home at 5. Didn't happen a lot. And so we were sitting around, people with their feet up, the phones have stopped ringing. And we somehow got on the subject of Boy Scouts. And there were 13 people in that room. And I was the only one that had not been an Eagle. I couldn't tie knots. So my scouting career was a nightmare. But the rest of them had. So that was the sort of people you ran into a lot. Wow.
Of course, Eagle Scout being the highest rank in Boy Scouting.
Very quality people. And I know at the time I graduated from the academy, I was extremely proud. My family was extremely proud. It's literally you were going to work for possibly the most widely recognized and greatest law enforcement organization perhaps in the world. It was either us or Scotland Yard probably at that point in time. And so you were just really, really happy. And so, throughout throughout almost, I guess, all of my career up till 2011, that was still, the FBI reputation was still there. It was still, you still felt that pride whenever you carried the badge and you showed your credentials to somebody as you're out and about, doing your duty. Of course, that changed just very shortly after I retired, whenever things started to kind of go south.
Well, and I could see it coming. I was there 2 years after Michael left. And I find it sad that I now refer to myself as one of the old guys, but I was talking to the young guys that had probably 5 or so years in, and things were starting to change. And I said, you guys can probably outlive this. And I was a little short-sighted with that because I saw the ball starting to roll, but I thought it could be stopped. And I was wrong about that. But I said, I can't outlive this. I'm going to be mandatory retirement. I'm going to have to live under this particular set of Attorney General guidelines that were brand new, that made it virtually impossible to get cases opened. It took a lot of the case decision-making power away from the individual agent and put it at headquarters, where people were always posturing to improve their station in life and with the Bureau.
Well, I know Dale feels that it was a Comey thing. You know, I honestly feel like it started way back with Mueller. He was the one that stood up in a meeting that I was in and said, look around here. All these guys with gray hair, white-haired guys, they're going to be out of here in a few years. And the new Bureau is going to be, you're going to learn how to solve crimes on your computers instead of, you know, these old door knockers. And I thought, yeah, once they start to refer to me as a old man door knocker, because I went out and talked to people,
Yeah.
I knew the beginning it was going to be bad.
Well, just as an example too, for language. So I'm out in 2011 and I'm talking with some guys that I worked with in Merrillville, which was my last office. And they were still working the terrorism stuff. And they had just gotten new guidelines from the Attorney General, and they were taking the words Islamic extremism out of all of the books, the manuals, and all that kind of stuff. And that used to be, you know, a readily usable term, but they decided that was too inflammatory and it was too, you know, whatever. So it was that wokeness whole thing was starting even then, you know, as they started to change the terminology and how we could approach people in cases.
Wow. That's interesting. I know you we were talking about the weaponization of the DOJ and the FBI, and I know you had mentioned about how it used to be the Constitution was such a main thing that you tried to uphold, you tried to support. Am I right? And,
Yes.
And that changed, right? That changed. You want to
Well,
talk about that?
I remember you couldn't. The idea. I worked with the FISA statutes a lot. In 22 years, I worked with FISA for the whole 22 years.
Now, this is the FISA court you're talking about, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, the FISA court and what we would call a FISA package. And I can't go through the steps; it would take way too long. But to get a FISA to the Attorney General and the Director of the FBI, which at that time both of them themselves had to sign off on it, they couldn't delegate. That I never saw that ever used against a U.S. citizen. And when I'd heard that, I was absolutely stunned. That's not what it was for. It was to protect the nation against foreign intelligence services. And when it was used that way, I really believe it saved a lot of lives. But to turn it around and to use it politically was just gut-wrenching. They used to tell us, if you make a mistake on this, even if it's just a mistake, we'll put you in prison. I mean, it was a scary statute to work with.
Wow.
Yeah, and you also have to keep in mind that the FBI can work any one of what it was like 256 different kind of cases or whatever that dealt with criminal and laws within, you know, the espionage statutes and everything. But those case priorities were set by the Attorney General of the United States. And so it didn't matter what cases we were working, that to get one prosecuted, they had to be approved by that local, you know, Attorney General's office. And so the FBI didn't set any kind of standard for the cases that were being worked. That was all set by the AG. So, you know, we were really servants to the Attorney General.
To build on that, as Michael mentioned previously, we both taught criminal and constitutional law. And one of the things that I strive to do for my students was teach them how to read a statute, which is not that easy of a task. After you've done it for 20 or so years, you kind of fall into the legal lingo. But for somebody just walking into reading a code book, it can be pretty confusing. So speaking of Comey, one of the activities that I would do in my class was I would print out the applicable statute, and then I would bring up and play that 15-minute press conference that Comey gave over Hillary's emails. And as he would tick off all of the things that had been done and were proven, I would list them on the board. And then at the end of that 15-minute press conference, I'd turn that off and I would say, let's go through the statute. And we would go through each element in the statute. And my students would say, yes or no, it was covered. And then we finally got to the applicable section of the statute, and my students' faces, the jaws dropped, the eyes went wide open, and they said, oh my God, she did it. And it was a very big help. That's the only good thing I can say about Comey is he helped me teach how to read a statute.
Yeah.
But he proved the case and then said, we're not going to do anything about it. And that was particularly disturbing for people like us because the FBI never, ever gave recommendations on whether or not to prosecute cases. And that was a turning point.
Wow. Wow. Well, guys, we are about out of time here. I'd like to bring you all back again for another session because I believe you told me that Michael and Tracy, you were involved in Waco,
Yeah.
Columbine. I mean, you were involved in some major events in this country, and I wish we had more time because I'd really like to get into and talk and learn about your experience with those types of things. So, but we're out of time for tonight. I'm sorry.
I just said, let us know.
Okay. All right. Well, folks, Ken, do we have any comments or questions?
No, we don't, Dale. No, we don't. I think our Facebook page being down has kind of hurt the cooperation of that. So we'll have to have him back for that fact alone. I mean, we can run this recording later, but maybe you can get me the information during our little break here. Maybe we can get Facebook back up and running. But
okay,
StreamYard wasn't able to connect.
We'll see. Okay, sorry about that, folks. We may, in fact, do this again, depending on how this deal with Facebook turns out. So, anyway, Dale, Michael, Tracy, thank you all very much for being with us tonight. Thank you.
Quite welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome. It was an
For
honor.
your service and for your service. That's a tough job.
Yeah. Well, what a mess. What a mess. Doggone it. That was very, very interesting, and I wish we had more time to
I think we only scratched the surface tonight, Dale. We only scratched the surface.
I think you're right. I think you're right. We need to do this again. We need to do this again. Well, I wanted to play a John's Journal for us tonight, Ken. Let's take a little break here before we bring Dale Winn on. And so let's take a look at John's Journal. And this one is on control. So,
interestingly enough.
Interesting, huh? So let's take a look lesson here.
John Ackerman for Convention of States, Indiana. There are some things that are under my control, and there are a lot of things that are outside of my control. And I want to share this bit of wisdom, which is not original with me. I got it somewhere else. I want to share it with you because it might just make your burden a little lighter and your walk a little easier. Some of the things outside of your control that you can just write off and let go of are the past and the future and the actions that other people take and the opinions that other people have and what happens around you and what other people think of you and how others behave and how others take care of themselves. I can't do anything about any of those things. Well, maybe I can influence the future a little bit by decisions and actions that I take in the present. But mainly the future is beyond my control, as are all these other things. Beyond my control. Beyond your control, too. Here, then, is a list of some of the things that are within my control, likewise within your control. My boundaries, my thoughts and actions, the goals I set for myself, what I give my energy to, how I speak to myself, self-talk, and how I handle challenges. All of those things are within my control. They're also within your control. Work on the things you can control and let go of the things that are outside of your control.
All right. Well, Ken, I sent you one email and password. I don't know if that's the one I used or not. You're muted. You're muted.
On mute. There you go. No, it didn't work, but go ahead.
All right.
Move on. We'll try another one.
I have no idea what I used.
We'll get it worked out. It's a StreamYard's connection problem. So.
All right. Okay, let's move on here. I want to bring on Dale. He's been patiently waiting in the lobby for us. So let's bring him on. Hello, Dale. You're muted.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. All right. Well, thanks for hanging on, Dale.
Oh, my pleasure. I'm afraid I'm going to be pretty anticlimactic compared to what we just saw. So I'll do my best, though.
That's a hard act to follow, I'm sure, Dale.
Indeed.
Yeah, well, that was interesting, wasn't it? We are definitely going to have to bring him back on. But anyway, Dale, you are the district captain for House District 64, right?
Yes, sir. Yes,
okay.
Sir.
Tell us, Dale, where in the state is House District 64 located?
I am in the southwestern side of Indiana, about as far south as you can get before you start having to speak in Kentuckian. So, yes. I'm city of Evansville. I'm just a little north of there.
Okay. All right. Used to go to a big car show down in Evansville when I was in the classic car hobby.
Yep.
At the fairgrounds down there, I think is where it was held.
It is just down the street from my house.
Is it really?
It is.
Yeah, very big show. Matter of fact, that might be going on about right now, or
you missed it by about 3 weeks.
Did I? Okay. Yeah. All right. So, yep, good show. Well, Dale, tell us your COS story.
Okay. Probably around about. I didn't start getting very political until around about 2000. I just finished, actually around 1998. I'd gotten my bachelor's degree, and so here's my little bit of flair I get to throw at you. Before I was an engineer, I was a firefighter paramedic in Los Angeles, so for about 10 years.
Wow.
So I'll get a little bit of flair there. So, but anyway, yeah, I decided a little bit more stable career and in engineering. So we moved to Kansas, and I started getting very political with a lot of the teammates that I was working with. And roughly about, of course, a year later, we had 2001 in September timeframe. We had a nice, very interesting political happening that really opened a lot of eyes, and that's where I started to get really political and really started looking into it. About, I guess, sometime around early this year is when I started wondering if there's some other means besides out and out revolution that's going to help us change the way our government is working. And that's when I found on Instagram Convention of States. Mm-hmm. And I did my research. I found everything that I was looking for and saying, this is awesome. We don't have to start pulling triggers. We've got a better method to take care of this. So
Yeah.
That's where I stepped in.
Good. You mentioned you're an engineer. What kind of engineer?
Communications.
Communications engineer.
Absolutely.
Again, we need to get him on our comms team, you know? Yeah. Well,
Already got him signed up, Dale. Already got him signed
you
up.
already do. Huh?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. We didn't waste any time.
Are you kind of an independent on your own, or do you work for a company? Or
Nope.
Dale?
I have been working for wireless telecommunications for about 25 years. This is my first time that I just started working for this company in Evansville about 3-4 years ago. And this is more on the wireline side as opposed to the wireless. So I've done LTE, 3G, 4G, 5G, 6G, as well as now I'm doing the fiber to the home. So yes, I'm pretty well versed.
So you're a G man. You've been okay.
You could say that, I suppose.
Okay. All right. Well, Dale, as you know, one of the responsibilities of a district captain is to connect with your state legislators. So,
yep.
Who are your state legislators?
Hostetler and Tomes.
Okay.
I've reached out to both of them. I haven't had the privilege of meeting them yet. However, I am on the books to meet them. Whether those appointments get pushed out, which is likely, we'll see. But I will definitely let you know once I do get to have those conversations.
Okay. Well, it's not unusual for a new district captain to be in the process of trying to establish those connections.
Yes, sir.
They're very hard to do sometimes. So keep at it. Keep at it.
On it.
So let's talk about objectives. What do you think? What are some of the things that you want to try and accomplish in your district in the next 12 months?
I'm very active in the I guess what's the best way of saying this, the shooter's realm. So I'm involved in a gun club, founding member for them, and very huge Second Amendment advocate. So I work with them. I try to get involved in the gun shows, the local ones. I went to the NRA show that was in Indianapolis earlier this year. Did not see a COS table there, which I was really surprised about. I talked to my regional captain about that, and that's something we might end up organizing for next year as well.
Yeah, gun shows are. We've had a lot of good luck at gun shows with Convention of States information tables. A lot of like-minded individuals there, so we've had some very, very good luck at that. Yeah.
Agreed.
Okay. All right. We kind of glossed over your location. I know you said you're down around Evansville. What are some other towns? I always like to kind of focus on this a little bit, so people that are viewing, if they live in that area, they know who to contact. What are some other towns in your district that people might recognize?
So again, I've only lived here about 3 years, so I'm still learning the place myself. But Newburgh is one of the suburbs of Evansville. McCutcheonsville is where I am, just north of it. Small towns named Scott Township, Earl, that area. There's a few really small areas, but mostly Vandenberg County is probably the easiest way of saying it.
Okay. All right. Good. Okay. Well, we always like to try and wrap things up with new leaders on a note of self-governance. Dale, are you involved in any other community organizations, any other kind of whatever it is?
Yeah, mostly just for my granddaughter's school. We recently had Constitution Day, and I wanted to give a little bit more information on Article 5. However, for her school, that would be a little bit more advanced. She's only 5 years old. However, I'm trying to get it to the local schools and get into some of the upper grades and get them to understand how Constitution works, especially with Article 5 and the control that we have over our government that most people just simply don't know about.
Good luck with that. Good luck
Indeed.
with that. I tell
Thank
you. Would this be public schools or private
Oh, yes,
schools?
absolutely. Yes, public schools.
Public schools. Okay. Have you reached out to anyone so far?
Just the one school that my daughter was, or my granddaughter was going to. That, but beyond that, no.
Were they receptive to what you were saying?
They were interested, but they weren't ready to put anything on the books yet.
Okay. All right. And what grades? Is that a grade school then? I assume.
It's up through middle school.
Up
And
through
then,
middle school.
yeah, and then the high school would be just down the street from it too.
Okay. Okay. Now you might want to continue pursuing that.
Still
My
on it.
I had some granddaughters. Well, I had a number of grandkids that went to a private school. It was a private school, but it was up through the 8th grade.
Mm.
And when you got into the 8th grade, they had government classes. They had a We the People program where they learned about the Constitution.
Oh yeah.
So you might want to, your granddaughter may be too young at this point in time, but they may have some programs there for the 7th and 8th graders that you might.
I would agree. I'm hoping so. As I recall, just as you said, even when I was going through high school, we had ethics class, we had U.S. history, we had Constitution, we had all kinds of history classes that were far more beneficial than what I've seen lately in public schools.
Yeah. All right. Well, good. That's a good thing. Anything else that you're involved in that could be a time-consuming activity right there.
I'm figuring probably so. Nothing additional to that right now yet, but I'm sure something could pop up.
Okay. All right. Good. Okay. Well, folks, I want to give everybody our email address. If you're in Dale's district or nearby, feel free to drop us an email at raiseyourvoicecos@gmail.com, and we will forward that information. We will forward your name and contact information to Dale, and he'll follow up with you. I'm sure he would love to have some interested parties out of his district that would like to maybe help out, huh, Dale?
Absolutely. It'd be wonderful.
I was going to say, the more numbers you can get helping Dale out with that, he can use it, because I'm sure that it's going to take quite a bit to get that done. I know Governor DeSantis in Florida, they've gone ahead and instituted more constitutional and civic type classes in Florida. So it might take a bit of a storm down there to get it started there, Dale.
Yep.
Agreed.
Okay. So once again, raiseyourvoicecos@gmail.com and drop us a line, and we'll get that information on to Dale. So, Dale, I want to thank you for coming on tonight.
My pleasure.
Thank you for stepping up and volunteering to become a district captain. We need more. We need more district captains across our state. So, and yeah, there's Diane Jones congratulating you.
Thanks, Diane.
She's one of our outstanding district captains, but we need more district captains across the state. So thanks for stepping up. And I just want to point out, we have for a long time tried to get some district captains down in the southern part of the state. So you're unusual, Dan.
I am unusual.
that southwestern corner and our upper northwestern corner, two spots that really, we're trying to fill a lot with. So it's nice to see that happening.
Yeah, very good. Okay, Dale, thank you very much for coming on, bud.
Have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Dale.
All right, Ken. Well, I think it's time to close things up. Ken, I don't know what I don't know. These technical issues really bother me, obviously.
Well, it's something that just to give you the actual feedback from StreamYard. StreamYard just says they've lost access to the Facebook account, so all they're looking for basically is to reconnect it. So we will try and do our best to get that reconnected. And like I said, we'll have to. I know we can put the recording out here, but we'll have to do our best to do a follow up to this program. I think to get everybody back on board, because I think it's like you said before, we could go on and on with those three. They have enough stories and background to give us all a glimpse as to what it'd be like to serve in that area.
You think it might be worth us bringing them back on and doing this again?
I think so, Dale. I think a lot of people would be interested in it. So
okay,
yeah.
All right. We'll keep that in mind. Yeah. Well, let's talk about what's coming up next. Our next broadcast is going to be 1 week from tonight, be October 9th. And we've got lined up, and Ken, you're going to be kind of the head of, you're going to host this broadcast.
Yep. So I hope we're all connected by then.
I hope we are too, this segment. We've got the SCC, now that's the State Communications Coordinators, which Ken is the SCC for Indiana. We've got lined up the SCC for Ohio, and the SCC for Michigan is going to join Ken on this broadcast. And we're going to talk about communications, and we're going to talk about getting the message out. We're still trying to kind of develop that broadcast and that production. So, but I think it's going to be very, very interesting. We will also be bringing Dale Tipton back on, and our state director, and let him give us an update on the status of COS Indiana through the month of September. So. Should be another interesting broadcast. And,
I think so. I think two very very interesting ladies that should bring some good chatter to the communications segment of this.
Yep, I think so. Our next roundtable will be coming up. This is something we do on the fourth Monday of every month. We devote the broadcast, or the format, I should say, we devote it to a panel discussion. We haven't selected the topic as yet. It's to be determined. As a matter of fact, that'll be done this week. Should be done this week, and we'll be getting that out. So, but anyway, viewers, you want to save the October 23rd date for our next roundtable broadcast. So, Ken, I think with that, we will go ahead and close out this evening. Why don't you hang on after the broadcast, if you would, and let's talk about this Facebook issue, this technical issue that we've had tonight, okay?
We'll get it all straightened out, Dale.
All right. I'm sure we will. So let's bring up the closing video here. We're going to play a video on Mark Meckler video, and then we'll close out the broadcast after that. So, Ken, thanks. Have a good evening.
You too.
And be talking to you very shortly here. Okay.
See everybody back next week. Yep.
All righty. All right.
I struggle to empathize with people who would give up. It doesn't make sense to me. Sam Adams said, for those of you who prefer safety and security over liberty, over the animating fight for liberty, I hope that you enjoy licking the hands that feed you. May your chains rest lightly upon you, and may posterity forget that you are our countrymen. Like, do you understand that your kids, and you are sentencing your kids and your grandkids and your friends' kids and your neighbors' kids to a lifetime of slavery and servitude, literally, of fear, of living in the darkness? But never, ever, never, never, never give up. George Washington lost the majority of his battles that he fought in the American Revolution. If you read his writings, if you read the letters where he was writing to Congress asking for money and troops, he was saying, we're losing. I don't have the troops I need. I don't have the supplies I need. Did he quit? What about the guys on the beach at Normandy? Like, what did they do? Did they just quit? Oh, there's, a lot of guys are dying around me. It's really bad. It looks really dismal. Those cliffs are huge. Machine gun fire raining down on us. And it's too hard. We should just quit. Thank God those people didn't quit. If they had, where would we be? I get discouraged for sure. And I will quit fighting at some point. And that point is when the first shovel of dirt hits the top of my box 6 feet down.